We are back with the World of CONCACAF podcast. We're here to talk about the first and the second round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, and we'll take you to the Bahamas to tell you more about soccer in the islands. All right. Hello and welcome to the World of CONCACAF podcast. I am Eric Schmitz.
I'm Jonathan Slape.
And I'm Donald Wine.
And thank you for being patient. We are back with another episode. Thank you to everyone who tuned in to our special bonus edition for the CONCACAF Nations League Finals, the epic conclusion of the greatest tournament on the face of the earth. But we've got a lot to get to today, so we're going to get right into it. Go ahead.
Real quick, Eric, I just want to let the people know the reason why we are so late in coming out with an episode is because you guys can't see it, but obviously we can see each other. We just wanted to wait until our Anguilla jerseys came in. So I'm wearing mine. We have Slape in his windbreaker. Eric said it's too hot to wear his hoodie. So people out there, let him slide on that. But we got him, finally.
I mean, I'm not here to drag stimulus, but they messed up my order. So my jersey... I'm waiting for a replacement on that. I would be rocking the jersey, that hot third jersey, the teal with the Dolphins on it. Can't wait to get that back in. But yeah, stimulus did some great work on that. But yeah, we've got 2 rounds of World Cup qualifying to wrap up. So we're going to go right to Scoreboard Watch and review the first round of World Cup qualifying. We'll go group by group and kind of talk about how each of them wrapped up. Starting with the first round, which concluded with 2 match days here in June. Group A, El Salvador topped the group with 10 points, edging out Montserrat and Antigua and Barbuda. We did get some drama, some relative drama in the final match day, as Montserrat had an opportunity to gain some goal difference and possibly have a tiebreaker with El Salvador. But could not get enough goals. Guys, any thoughts on Group A?
I mean, I think the biggest shame is that those hot Montserrat jerseys aren't going to be in the next round of World Cup qualifying. But no, I mean that's good for them that they've been able to make some noise and progress as a team and as a nation, and we look forward to seeing them in Nations League.
Yeah, they during Nations League they came just close to getting out of League B and qualifying for League A. This time around in World Cup qualifying, they just missed getting to the second round of qualifying, where anything could happen. You would think that they'd be up against the gun, but anything could have happened in that second round. So they're right there, and it's great to see them progress from one of the minnows to one of the teams that are kind of middle of the pack in CONCACAF.
Yeah, and El Salvador, of course, taking care of business. They were the favorite, essentially the top seed in that group. They get through with 3 wins and a draw and plus 12 goal difference. So El Salvador moves on. On to Group B, Canada. The Canucks get business done. They win all 4 of their games, including a final day defeat of Suriname. Suriname finishing with 3 wins and 1 loss at 9 points. Reactions to Group B.
For me, Suriname was close, but they just couldn't get past Canada. Obviously, Canada, we expected Canada, our little neighbors to the north. We expected them to go through with ease, but Suriname gave him a run for his money, and so that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, those plucky upstarts from Canada, they found a way to get through to that second round. Jonathan, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, good to see our small neighbor to the north making it in. Top in the group. Suriname, took them close, but just couldn't get over that final hurdle. Would have liked to have seen any of these island nations make it over our small neighbor to the north, but
Canada, clearly the class of the group, plus 26 goal difference. I think that'll get it done over the course of 4 games. On to Group C. Group C, probably the most dramatic finish of all the groups. Curacao moving on to the second round, edging out Guatemala on goals scored tiebreaker after Curacao was able to get a 0-0 draw with Guatemala on the final match day. Thoughts on Group C?
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, it kind of ended about how we thought. I think we thought about halfway through the group that Curacao was going to be the team that made it through. Guatemala may have been a slight favorite. I think the big takeaway here is that this more than likely, Rubio Rubin, who had been considering playing for Guatemala and had even trained with him, I would say more than likely is not going to file that one-time switch just because they're not going to be in that final round of World Cup qualifying.
Yeah, and hats off to Curacao. They did what they had to do. They showed that they are one of the better teams in CONCACAF, and Guatemala, yet like Slape said, was probably a slight favorite in this group. It was just a toss-up, but Curacao showed why they need to be reckoned with and need to be respected in this division. So good on them to get out of the round.
Yeah, I mean, for Guatemala, it's a tough pill to swallow. They go unbeaten in their 4 games. They go 3 wins, 1 draw. Goal difference tied with Curacao plus 14. I mean, Guatemala did not give up a goal, and they're not getting through. Curacao just getting that 1 goal scored advantage. And especially with the format of this round, Curacao got to play Guatemala at home. If there's a return leg, or if that game gets played in Guatemala City,
it's different.
It's much different. So really tough draw for them. Better luck in 4 years, Guatemala. On to Group D. Group D, Panama pretty comfortably gets through. In the second to last match day, they got a 13-0 win over our boys in Anguilla. That goal difference was more than enough to secure any tiebreaker. But on the final match day against Dominican Republic, Dominicans needed to win, and Panama got a 3-0 win at Estadio Nacional Rod Carew in Panama City. So anytime you see a CONCACAF team win a big game in a baseball stadium, you got to appreciate it.
Yeah, it was expected. Again, DR gave them a run for their money. They tried to keep themselves in it as long as possible, but Panama was definitely the class of that group, and it was expected that they were going to get out.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest takeaway is I wanted to see Anguilla score a goal, and our friends were not able to.
Yeah. Also do want to give a shout out to Barbados. Barbados, 1 win, 2 draws, and 1 loss. Even goal difference for a nation of that size. It's a pretty good performance. They only lost to Panama 1-0, but in this June window, they got 2 results. So really good for that program moving forward. On to Group E. Came down to Haiti against Nicaragua. As we talked in that Curacao-Guatemala game, big advantage to Haiti. They got to play Nicaragua at home in Port-au-Prince, and they get the 1-0 victory to move on. Thoughts on this group?
I mean, I think this one and Group D are probably the 2 that went, about the way I thought they would be. I mean, the big takeaway, of course, is St. Lucia pulling out before the tournament even started. So, only playing with 4 teams in that group. But, I mean, there are not really any other big takeaways from that other than, going about how we expected.
Yeah, I think Haiti was supposed to get out of this group, and they did. They did what needed to be done. Shout out to all these other teams, right? Not just in this group, but all the groups that kind of made it where this last match day of round 1 was interesting in just about every single group, except for this one we're about to talk about. There was something to be played for, and teams giving it all they could to try and make it out of this group. It's unfortunate that only one of these teams did. I think that's something that obviously we'll talk about down the line with regard to format, but it was definitely great to watch all this soccer the last match day because it was really entertaining.
And getting to Group F, the final group, not so much drama in the final day, but the biggest shock result. So Trinidad and Tobago, the team that knocks out the mighty United States in the last cycle, karma comes back around. On June 5th, the Bahamas getting a 0-0 draw with Trinidad and Tobago, locking up the group for St. Kitts and Nevis. And St. Kitts and Nevis moves on in the final match day. Trinidad and Tobago, the Soca Warriors were able to get a 2-0 win, but that did not mean anything. St. Kitts and Nevis moves on with 9 points, 3 wins in the one loss, and Trinidad and Tobago out in the first round of qualifying. What are our thoughts other than ha ha ha?
I don't even want to say ha ha ha. I'm just going to say that's why they play the games. You have to win with the teams in front of you. This is what we say when we talk to our American friends about the United States. Like, you have to play the games in front of you. You have to beat the teams that are across from you. And if you don't, you could be going home. 4 years ago, the United States had to face Trinidad and they couldn't get the win. They went home. Trinidad had to get a draw against the Bahamas, and they're going home. So that's how you do it. And shout out to St. Kitts and Nevis, because they did what needed to be done. The only reason they really lost against Trinidad is because they rested everybody, because they knew they had 2 more games and they knew that game really didn't count. So, but shout out to them. They got the job done.
Yeah, and we saw Puerto Rico make some advances and some, finishing on 7 points, only 2 points off the top, which I think is a big improvement for them. I'm really interested to see how that national team builds. I know they brought Dave Sarakin in for really for qualifying, but do they keep him around? Is he able to continue to build this program? Because I think that'll be really interesting to see how that. I'm just super excited, kind of talking about all of this as a whole. Is we saw some national teams make some jumps up with their level in competition. And I'm really looking forward to Nations League and seeing these teams be back into this and be back into qualifying and seeing how they progress.
Yeah, so St. Kitts and Nevis gets through to the next round. But yes, shout out to the Bahamas getting the one result, their 1 point of the round, finishing on 1 draw and 3 losses and 0 goals scored, but being the team that locks up the group for St. Kitts and Nevis. So, since the Bahamas seem to be the story of this first round and getting this shock result, we're going to talk about the Bahamas today. So, coming up after this, we're going to have our CONCACAF Laser Focus, focusing on the Bahamas. All right, it's time for our CONCACAF Laser Focus. And today we're talking about the Bahamas. Gentlemen, have we been to the Bahamas?
I have.
I have as well.
Okay, so I'm the only one that hasn't. So I'm going to leave this to you to tell me about the Bahamas. So enlighten me. What about it?
So I'll start off a little bit of history, and then I think I'm the one that has spent the least amount of time in the Bahamas. It was only on a one stop on a cruise ship, but I know, Donald, you have been there several times. But so the Bahamas, it is an archipelagic state, so there's about 700 islands that make up the Bahamas. The main island is New Providence, and the capital of that is Nassau. So probably if anyone that's listening has made a stop on a cruise ship, they've more than likely made a stop in Nassau. They've seen Atlantis, but it has a long storied history of being both a settlement of the Spanish and the English, but they gained their independence as an independent nation in 1973 when they joined both the International Monetary Fund and the United Nations. The official languages there, English, unitary 2-party system. It's a great country, that has in the past, since being an independent nation has only, grown even more.
So Donald, like, what's the vibe like there?
Oh, it's so peaceful, relaxing. Everyone there is super friendly. Not only have I been there on several cruises to Nassau, but I've also been to Freeport, and Freeport is just another kind of relaxing, area. It's much quieter than Nassau would be. Nassau has a lot of glitz as well. Nassau has Atlantis, which is one of these major resort hotels that looks like a castle that you'd see in Aquaman or something like that. But it's really massive and it's very, very beautiful. They have bridges and a nice town where you can kind of go through, do some shopping, do some drinking, have a great time. But it's all vibes there. It's all great vibes there. There's no people there do go there for some banking. It's one of the banking, not necessarily banking capital of the Caribbean, but one of them. If you throw in the Caribbean islands, maybe, or I'm sorry, the Cayman Islands. But the Bahamas is just one of those places where it's everyone's just relaxed. It's always the first stop or the last stop if you're on a cruise, so everyone is there to have a great time. That are tourists, and all the residents there are so welcoming and friendly. So if you have not been to the Bahamas, when I lived in Miami, it's a 90-minute cruise to Freeport from Miami, Fort Lauderdale. So it's very easy to get to the Bahamas if you're going on a cruise looking to just go for a weekend. That it's easy to fly down there from Miami or from anywhere on the East Coast. So highly recommend you check it out.
Jonathan, was there anything specifically that you liked?
Yeah,
there?
I mean, I just the beaches and getting out in the water. We did some snorkeling when we were there, and it's just just some of the most clear, beautiful reefs and just the nature within the water ecosystem. But I would definitely say I wish I would have had a chance to spend more time there. So as Donald said, it's a short flight from the East Coast, and so I would definitely say hit that up and don't just make it a stop on a cruise ship.
Agreed.
Nice. Well, at some point I'm gonna have to get out there because obviously I'm missing out. So that's a little bit about the Bahamas. Let's talk about soccer in the Bahamas. Soccer in the Bahamas is run by the Bahamas Football Association, which was founded in 1967, affiliated with FIFA in 1968, headquarters in Nassau. The basics. The Bahamas were hosts of the first men's senior FIFA tournament to be staged in the Caribbean, which was the 2017 FIFA Beach Soccer World Cup. And beach soccer is pretty big in the Bahamas. Obviously, if you got a lot of beaches, you got a lot of places to play. So it's a big thing down there. The big men's league there is the BFA Senior League. That league is the result of a merger. There was the Grand Bahama Football League and the New Providence Football League. So they merged, and they've got one central league as far as men's soccer goes. Their 2020 season had been suspended due to the pandemic. I couldn't find any record. I don't know if they've restarted yet because of COVID. Now, the one historical thing I do want to point out as far as the federation goes is that back in 2011, in one of the many FIFA scandals that has gripped the world, Bahamas were the whistleblowers. In May 2011, Anton Sealy, the president of the Bahamas FA, was attending an event in the run-up to the FIFA Congress in Zurich. And because he was in Zurich, he was unable to attend a meeting in Port of Spain, Trinidad, which had been organized by AFC president and FIFA presidential candidate Mohammed bin Hammam and CONCACAF president, FIFA vice president, all-around terrible dude, Jack Warner, had set up this meeting.
Jack Warner sucks.
Listen, that's Donald's thing. That's Donald's.
No. Well, I mean, to piggyback off of that, Jack Warner sucks,
as we all know. So because the FA president was not able to go to that, the vice president, now General Secretary Fred Lunn, attended that meeting. And at that meeting, he was handed a brown envelope with the word Bahamas on it. And inside the envelope was $40,000 US dollars. He believed it to be a bribe in a cash for votes scandal funded by bin Hammam, who is running for FIFA president. And Lund reported that incident to Sealy, who in turn reported it to our good friend Chuck Blazer. He took a photograph. That photograph got out. This is what really set off that entire FIFA scandal that led to Jack Warner getting suspended by FIFA. So Bahamas clearly has a big place in the world of football. Soccer. Punching myself in the arm for that. Donald, do you have any info on the Bahamas women's football team? Football.
Yeah,
I'm saying football again.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The thing about the women's national team, the Baja girls, if you will, is that they really don't have any history. They were founded in 2000. They have played only 6 games in their history, and they have lost them all. Their most recent match, you have to go all the way back to 2002 when they were involved in qualifying for the 2003 Women's World Cup. They played 3 matches and lost them all to Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and St. Lucia by a combined score of 19-1. That's not good. And they have not entered any qualification for any tournament since then. So they're not ranked by FIFA. They've never qualified for any tournament. They do have a great beach. I wouldn't say great, but they have a robust beach soccer team, their women's team. But they really concentrate on that. We're hoping that they get their program on the grass back with World Cup qualifying next year, whenever that occurs. And then obviously the Women's Nations League that will begin in 2023. But this is obviously one of those situations where they have put no money into the program, and thus there really isn't a program at this point.
A key positive to the creation of the co-greatest competition in world sport, the Women's CONCACAF Nations League.
Indeed.
Looking forward to that. So on the men's national team, we talked about how World Cup qualifying ended. They got eliminated in the first round for the 2022 World Cup. They've never qualified for the World Cup. They've never qualified for the Gold Cup. They've never qualified for the Caribbean Cup. The men's national team in Bahamas has, struggled performance-wise. They actually withdrew from the 2014 World Cup qualification in the second round back in 2011 because they couldn't host any games because they were working on their stadium, Thomas Robinson Stadium in Nassau. They did, however, going back to the greatest competition on the face of the planet, finish atop their League C group in Nations League. So they're being promoted to League B for the next round of the competition. Their head coach is Neslie Jean. He played for the Bahamas national team from 2004 to 2018. He had 14 caps, 6 goals. He actually scored in his last match, which was a 1-1 draw with Anguilla, tying it all back around. Anguilla in November 2018 as part of Nations League qualification. His 6 goals are second all-time behind Leslie St. Fleur, their top player, a 32-year-old forward from Nassau. He's got 22 caps dating back to 2006, and he's got 10 goals, which is the most in Bahamas history. He's playing locally now. Spent parts of 8 seasons with Jamaica's Montego Bay United, who you may be familiar with through CONCACAF Champions League. He also played 1 season, the 2010 season, with Milltown FC of the Canadian Soccer League, which was the only season they played in that league. And just foreshadowing, the Canadian Soccer League is bonkers, that whole history. And I look forward to going deeper into that whenever we get to Canada in our laser focus. Most importantly, with the Bahamas, they unveiled new kits back in March. They are supplied by Hummel. One kit is aquamarine. The other one is gold. The colors of their flag. It even looks like the flag. They got a black triangle on the shoulder, sash down the front. They're just generally hot. Thoughts on their kits?
Yes. This is directed mainly at Hummel. Sponsor us, by the way. But also you can DM us, at the end we give our social media, and you can DM us and you can send us copies of these jerseys so that we can, wear them like we do these Anguilla ones. We'll wear those with pride, like drink Calic and everything. Like we'll be ready to go.
Hit us up on WhatsApp
and hook us up.
Yeah, hit us up on WhatsApp at Concacaf.
Yeah, this goes
slide
for
in those
any
DMs.
this goes for any jersey manufacturer. We'll wear your shit.
Yes, especially if it's hot.
Yes.
But
This
I
is
know
hot.
this may be a bit of a digression, real quick. But is CONCACAF not the region that has the hottest jerseys as a whole?
I mean, just
I would
generally,
say, okay,
say
so
the top end, yes, elite, like Anguilla, elite. They're
Bermudas are hot.
Bermuda's got the
Montserrat.
pink Montserrat's. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago's new ones really
yep,
nice.
they're with Bowl now.
Yeah,
There's a lot of teams that are stepping their game up lately.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this: Africa has got some great ones.
They do
Asia
have some great ones.
has got some great ones, especially the like lesser teams like Bhutan and stuff like that. There's some teams out there that's got some fire, but CONCACAF teams have seen that fire is good, fire is wise, and they are walking towards it, and they're producing a lot of heat for the summer.
CONCACAF is definitely on their way up in kits. All right, so that wraps us up on the Bahamas on our laser focus. Next, we're just going to go back to Scoreboard Watch to talk about the World Cup qualification, the second round. This is part 2. So we went through our first round winners. We had El Salvador in Group A, Canada in Group B, Curacao Group C, Panama Group D, Haiti Group E, St. Kitts and Nevis Group F. So the second round, 2 legs, home and away, or home and home, however you prefer the nomenclature there. 2 legs, aggregate. One team moves on, the other team goes home. So we'll go through each of these ties and review them. So first off, let's go with the Group A winner, El Salvador. Group F winner, St. Kitts and Nevis. El Salvador advances 6-0 on aggregate after a 2-0 win in El Salvador, following a 4-0 win in Basseterre, St. Kitts and Nevis.
Just breaking my heart. That's all I can say. That round of qualifying just broke my heart.
That first leg, just you can't. It was demoralizing, and I know it was because they gave it a good effort in the second leg, but that first leg you just couldn't come back from that. That was when it was written in stone.
Yeah, and we had posted our predictions on Twitter for the game. We all thought St. Kitts and Nevis, we thought Sugar Boys were going to get that done. They did not. El Salvador was able to score 3 minutes in. 27 minutes in, it was already 3-0. And with that many away goals, it's hard to come back. The one thing I do want to talk about is in that second leg, El Salvador with a 2-0 win. Oh my Lord. El Salvador's finishing was terrible.
Awful.
Just absolutely awful. Like, they flat out dominated that game. Like, it was not a close contest at all. Shots in that game, St. Kitts and Nevis had 6 shots, 3 on target. El Salvador had 36 shots, 13 on target, 75% possession. They dominated the game, and they scored 2 as in 1+1 goals. I mean, they didn't need more than that, but go ahead.
Let me tell you about momentum real quick. Let's go back to that first leg. You mentioned that El Salvador scored like 3 minutes in. Like 45 seconds before that, like right basically off of the opening rip, St. Kitts and Nevis almost scored. They were inches away from making it 1-0 after like 87 seconds. They basically just missed the ball. And then on the ensuing ball going back down the field, El Salvador scores. And then they score again and again. And you could just see that momentum just the air just got sucked out of that team immediately, because when you see that kind of swing, it's hard to come back from that. And you could tell right after that, they pressed a little bit more, and then they had the second goal they gave up minutes after that. And it was all downhill from there for El Salvador.
Yeah, St. Kitts and Nevis did have a chance at the end of that first leg to get a goal, and I think that would have been huge. At least to give them some optimism going into that second leg, but nope, nothing to speak for. And El Salvador moves on to the final round. On to our next matchup. We've got Haiti and Canada. Haiti, the Group E winner, versus Canada, the Group B winner. Canada advances 4-0 on aggregate, getting a 1-0 victory on a Kyle Larin goal in Port-au-Prince, and Canada getting a 3-0 result in the return leg, hosted in scenic Bridgeview, suburban Chicago, to move on to the next round. Thoughts
Also,
on Haiti and Canada?
One of the worst own goals you will ever see came in that second leg.
Oh man,
I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you haven't seen the video, that was not top 10. It might be not top 10 a year in SportsCenter. It was awful, and it was
happened in slow motion. It happened in it wasn't a single mistake. It was a catalog of it was just a calamitous set of events that led to that.
Well, it should be noted that the keeper there, Josu Duverger, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, was only playing because Haiti's starting goalie wasn't able to make the trip because of a paperwork fiasco. So they're playing their backup goalie. By the way, Duverger from Montreal, born in Montreal, and lets in that. I don't think howler is appropriate enough of a term to describe that mess up, you know?
That's
Blunder.
an own goal. I wouldn't even call that a howler. Like a howler, at least someone took a shot. Like that was a pass back that he flubbed, then flubbed again,
Yeah,
then flubbed the third time.
He flubbed multiple times. But yeah, really unfortunate for Haiti that they had to go into that second leg. They lost 4 players who would have been starters for that second leg just because there was a paperwork mistake in traveling to the United States, and having only been down 1 goal, they could have snuck out a result if they've got their best lineup, and they did not. And they did not sneak out a result, and they are done. So Canada moves on, as I would say expected. So our final matchup, we've got the Group C winner, Curacao, versus the Group D winner, Panama. Panama advances 2-1 on aggregate, winning the first match in Panama City 2-1, and then earning a 0-0 draw in Williamstead, Curacao. Thoughts on Panama getting through?
I mean, again, breaking my heart with the team island qualifiers. That didn't work out for anybody. But I think this was definitely the most contested match. You know, Curacao getting that late, a road goal going back home. But I think the big thing is the field conditions for that first leg were appalling at best. That field was just in awful conditions. But again, just that's just what happens in CONCACAF. You got to be able to play. You got to be able to play on those on fields like that.
Yeah, I mean, like that field was a lake 3 hours for the game.
Yeah,
it was Lake Rod Carew.
Yeah,
Lake Rod Carew, for real.
I mean, like they were able to get it somewhat playable, but it clearly made an impact on the game. The first half was not good. Panama was able to get 2 goals through like the middle of the second half, and Curacao was able to steal one back at the end and actually had some chances to tie it up. And then going to the return leg in Curacao, man, Curacao had so many chances at the end.
It was so agonizing because one goal would have changed. It would have changed at 1 goal would have changed the whole course of that tie. And let me tell you, the first half of that first leg was probably the only bit of this entire World Cup qualifying campaign so far for any team that was unwatchable. But they figured out a way. It made the second half very entertaining. But that game was so agonizing, especially if you wanted Curacao to go through, because they kept getting so many chances. They just couldn't find a way to put a ball into the back of the net, and it would change the entire scope of everything and just really put the pressure on Panama, who, again, Panama, as we know, made the World Cup last time for the first time ever. They want to get back to the World Cup. They had to start in the first round of qualifying this time around, and the pressure has been on them every single round, and somehow they've able to emerge through it. So hats off to Panama, but Curacao, oh my goodness, like just one. We just needed one.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say Panama had so many chances to put in the dagger in that second leg. They had a penalty kick that was saved by Eloy Room. Like, Curacao kept finding ways to survive, and they had a chance. I want to say it was like the 86th or 87th minute that went off the crossbar. Like, the field was tilted for most of the second half, and Curacao just could not put it in. And one goal would have gotten them through, and it didn't. Jonathan, were you gonna say anything?
no, I mean, I was just gonna say RIP Island qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, going 0 for 3 in that second round for Island qualifiers, very disappointing.
The Caribbean Football Union, you disappointed us. I mean, we still love you, but we're just a little upset that we don't get to go to all of your islands. We only get to one.
CFU, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Just letting us down. So we'll be talking more about World Cup qualifying as the final round approaches in September. We've also got a bunch of other stuff coming up. But before we get to anything else, it's time for Real Team or Fake Team. So we're putting Jonathan on the hot seat today. He is our contestant. And Donald and I got some teams from the Bahamas. Donald, you want to lead us off? We need to get some music here for Real Team or Fake Team, like a
we'll talk to our music producer, Jeffrey
director.
Sleep, and see if he can put together some background music for us to play while playing Real Team Fake Team.
Is there a Caribbean calypso type of game show music? I don't know. I think if anyone could do it,
we need to make one.
Yeah, I know. When he put together the ones, I said, "All right, I want steel drums," and I just gave him a list of a few things, and he said, "All right, got it." And then came back with a few things. So I'll just say I want Caribbean game show.
Exactly.
Listen, he's got to earn that paycheck. He's
yeah.
All right, Real Team or Fake Team? Donald, why don't you lead us off?
Okay, let's start with this one, Jonathan, and that is Freeport Warriors.
I'm going to go Real Team.
That is a Fake Team.
Damn it. I'm totally going to Eric this up.
I see how this is going to go. All right, here we go. United FC.
Real Team.
It is a real team. They're based in Nassau. Yes, their name is United FC. And I've also seen them denoted as United FC Orange. So there might be more United FC.
They fit in really well in MLS.
Yeah. I mean,
there might be a blue. There might be a yellow. We never know.
United FC. All right. Now,
the next one I have is Baja Juniors.
Let's go Real Team.
That is a real team. They are in the same division as United FC Orange, Blue, whatever that team was. But yes, they are a real team.
Okay. So he's 2 for 3. He's doing all right. Up next, we've got I Am Bears FC.
So like the letter I.
Letter I, the letter M, Bears FC.
Let's go Real Team.
There's a real team. The Insurance Management Bears FC. That is a real team. All right, now.
I'm going to go with, let's take a look at my list here. Calic Cavaliers FC.
Fake team.
That is a real fake team. It's very fake. I made that up.
Made that up. It's not real.
All right. So 4 for 5.
All right. All right. I got to sell myself for this one. Hold on. Okay. All right. I'm good. I'm good. Pub on the Mall Red Dogs.
I'm gonna go fake team.
That is a real team. You're 1995-96 Grand Bahama League champions and FA Cup winners. Pub on the Mall Red Dogs.
Man, I was playing a little game theory here, and I should have just figured out that it was so
how
ridiculous.
could that be made up? That's so ridiculous.
I don't know. I've been on the other side of this where I'm trying to put things together, and I was going for a little game theory, and swung and miss.
You got to think in your heart. I do want to note that they have since been renamed to Freeport FC, but Pub on the Mall Red Dogs is a real team.
Don Garber got to him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got MLS'd. So
they got MLS'd.
Yeah. They're worried about their world brand. They want to be a worldwide name. Like all the other FCs.
So Eric, if Pub on the Mall Red Dog FC is available, I mean, I think we may have the new team name for our
Tuesday
night team.
Now, I want to know, it's not Pub on the Mall Red Dog FC. It's Pub on the Mall Red Dogs. They
Pub
were
on
not
the Mall
in
Red Dogs. All right.
Red Dogs, like Red Bulls, Red Dogs.
Gotcha.
Hopefully they were sponsored by Red Dog. That'd be great. So it's 4 out of 6.
Yeah, 4 out of 6. So
not bad.
Very good.
No one's got above 4.
Yeah, I mean that's about the going rate.
No one's gotten less than 4, but Eric.
Yes. Well, we will see on the next episode. I am going to be ready for whatever challenges you throw my way. All right. It's another great game, real team or fake team. Let's move on to the CONCACAF News Wire. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, it's been a long time since we've had a podcast where we've talked about this stuff. And since the end of World Cup qualifying, a bunch of stuff has happened. So we're going to bring you the most important news that's been going on. First off, we talked about Trinidad and Tobago earlier. There was some fallout from them failing to qualify. Terry Fenwick and assistants Derek King and Kelvin Jack were fired after their qualifying failure. The FIFA-appointed normalization committee of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. I should note that FIFA still has helpers running that FA because everything's such a mess. And there's a lot of mess to go through. So just bear with me. So the normalization committee said, given the financial situation of the TTFA, which threatens its ability to fund the coaches at the salary levels that were committed, the NC has met with Derek King, Kelvin Jack, and have come to a mutually agreed position. So they gone. TNT's all-time cap leader, Angus Eve, has been named the interim manager, but he's only on a contract through August 31st. Eve made 117 appearances for the Soka Warriors from 1994 to 2005. He's recently the head coach of Naparima College. So Eve is going to be leading them through the summer. Back in February, he actually criticized Terry Fenwick publicly, his tactics and his team selection after the joint national record 7-0 loss away to the United States in a friendly. So there was public spats between the new coach and the departed coach. Trinidad and Tobago faced Montserrat on July 2nd in Miami in the Gold Cup qualifiers. They will have to beat Montserrat and another team to advance to the Gold Cup this summer. Now, sticking in Trinidad and Tobago, we're about to turn the CONCACAF meter way up. So the normalization committee was investigating a row, like a spat, a dispute, a fight.
A row.
It's a row.
A ruckus.
A ruckus, yes, between former assistant coach Kelvin Jack and Gary Griffith III, one of the players, before the World Cup qualifier against the Bahamas. This is from Wired 868 in Trinidad. The FIFA-appointed normalization committee has requested a report into a row between Trinidad and Tobago men's national senior team assistant coach Kelvin Jack and 18-year-old player Gary Griffith III, which occurred just hours before their World Cup qualifying outing against the Bahamas, which they lost. When they didn't lose, they drew. Griffith III was one of 4 uncapped players selected in the 28-man squad by national senior men's football team coach Terry Fenwick. Now, Gary Griffith III is the son of Trinidad and Tobago Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith. So he's got a dad in very high power. Griffith III, what started this fight, he stormed out of a team building exercise and was quote unquote disrespectful because he was not selected to play in the Bahamas clash. He'd already been notified that he wasn't going to play. A video came out, Griffith recorded, of Kelvin Jack yelling at him, saying, quote, "I don't care who you go and tell because your father doesn't have more influence than me in TNT football." Griffith later said that the team was not even in a team building session, but the players were singing karaoke. But Griffith III had gone to his room and was sulking over not getting put into the team for this game. Now, after this, there was a lot of talk about why was Griffith even included in the team to begin with. And it turns out there's a WhatsApp conversation group that his dad, the commissioner of police, who has no role in the federation, with the entire coaching staff. So they were talking about stuff like consistently. Trinidad and Tobago Newsday said, quote, had this quote from Gary Griffith, the commissioner of police. "People who want to continue to criticize my son, I challenge any of you all, seeing that you figure he can't play football, let's have a small goal tournament, him against you. I'll give you 4-goal head start to 5. If you win, I'll eat my police cap," he said. So all this came out after this debacle where they drew the Bahamas. And there's this kid who he had never been capped before, and he's included in the team, but he doesn't get to play. Warrior 868 had this expose about it. All the details that they got about this was leaked by Gary Griffith himself to the outlet. So all of this was coming from inside the room. It wasn't even like some expose, like getting anonymous sources and things like that. Like, it's a mess. So this Gary Griffith III also was later included on the provisional roster for the Gold Cup. He has not been named to that roster as of yet, but his dad probably isn't happy about that. Does that sound like the most CONCACAF thing?
Yeah, I saw the things you put out there, and you sent some articles beforehand, and I just could not believe what I was reading. I mean, I think if he does make the Gold Cup roster, I'm trying to think if the U.S. plays them some kind of way of police hats on the field or edible police, I don't know, banners with someone eating a police hat. I don't know. I'm spitballing here.
Listen, we can't have any cop stuff going on here. Like there's enough cop.
Yeah,
let's leave that stuff to the side.
Yeah, that is very, very true.
Can we just talk about how he tried to muscle up? He was like, "Yo, who wants what with my son? Who wants what with me?" Like, yo, chill out, dad. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to calm down.
Challenge my son to a soccer game.
He's like, yeah, but his son was like, "Wait, dad, wait, whoa. Don't put me in no crap." Like, yeah, that's not me.
So Wired 868 had like a 3-part expose about how they got the story, what they know about the story, tips from anonymous sources. It is wild. And yeah, I was late to our recording session here because I was trying to read through all of this again to make sure I had the story somewhat straight. I'm sure I still messed up some of the details, but I encourage you to Google it. Gary Griffith, Commissioner of Police, Trinidad and Tobago, Kelvin Jack. There's videos. There's a lot of drama. Everything you want in CONCACAF. So that's what's going on in Trinidad. Jonathan, what's going on in Mexico?
So we talked about this on our bonus episode about what happened during the U.S.-Mexico game, and the chants that did take place. So FIFA came out, and I'm just going to actually just read the statement. The FIFA Disciplinary Committee has sanctioned the Mexican Federation with a fine of 60,000 Swiss francs and the condition that they play their next two official home games behind closed doors as a consequence of the anti-gay chants heard in the matches against the Dominican Republic and the United States, played in Guadalajara on March 18th and March 24th, respectively. The FIFA statement said. And then said, additionally, the committee has opened a secondary disciplinary roster in relation to the anti-gay chants heard from Mexican fans in a friendly played against Iceland in Arlington, Texas on May 29th. So, I mean, these instances, it came out not even for what happened during the game in CONCACAF Nations League, but previous games that took place. So, it's good to see that FIFA actually doing some things. However, it's going to be a situation of is this actually a deterrent? I think it could be, but it's it remains to be seen.
Well, am I correct? Didn't the last time Mexico get in trouble, didn't they appeal that and it get overturned?
Yeah, they appealed it to CAS, Court for Arbitration of Sport, and they appealed that and they overturned it. It'll be interesting to see if they do that again. But I think that maybe, as this is now being seen as a continuation, that they actually, take action and it doesn't get overturned.
Yeah, and I think FIFA sensed that ruling because back then they didn't really have regulations in place. Now they do. So, and even CONCACAF does with their, 1-step, 2-step, 3-step process, of which we saw twice during Nations League. So it's interesting that second inquiry doesn't include Nations League. It only includes the friendly. And like I said on the last show, if you just like they had the friendly against Honduras and Atlanta, where they said if it happens one time, the game is over. One time, be done with it. Like, not this 4-step process where you have three slaps on the wrist before they do anything real. If they do it once, shut it down. And during World Cup qualifying, I hope this continues. Where if they do it, it takes players off the field, call it a forfeit for Mexico, take points away, whatever you got to do to make it where it sticks. And make this happen. But I'll say this, everyone's got to check everybody, right? Like Mexico's got to check their fans. United States, we got to check our fans too. We can continue not, making sure we're still in our glass house and that it's intact, and making sure we do that. Other fans that have adopted this chant that we've seen at previous tournaments around the world, they need to check their people too. Everyone check each other and check your own people, check each other. Make sure that this doesn't happen again because we can't have this in the game at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing to me is Mexico is getting sanctioned for their supporters doing chants. None of those games were in Mexico, which just shows you the pervasiveness of this problem.
Well, Olympic qualifying was what they were charged with was Olympic qualifying
was included.
Yeah, so that was
it's 2 matches in Guadalajara is what they're charged for. It's actually the key takeaway from this is it actually doesn't have anything to do with the Nations League instances. It only has just come out after the fact.
That's interesting. So I'm wondering if there might be any potential additional sanctions because I assume this was already in progress by the time Nations League happened.
The only thing that we got was that no announcement had been made of further investigations from the instances that took place in Denver during CONCACAF Nations League. So could continue. And it said, the Victor Matagliani said this campaign is important and is a very important step in our efforts to eradicate the goalkeeper chant and to make it absolutely clear that we oppose all forms of discrimination in football.
Yes. And it'll be interesting to see what punishment they do on top of this, right? Like, of course, the first step is play behind closed doors, which they're doing for 2 matches. But if we keep doing this and they keep just giving, closed door bans, we're running into a game that we're running into a game in March that is going to be very important. That all three of us want to go to, a ton of American fans want to go to, that could happen for potentially the final time, where it means something for a very long time, if not for the rest of our lives, because the way that World Cup qualifying is changing, Mexico hosting the United States at Azteca may not happen many times going forward for a trip to the World Cup on the line. So they can't have this done because, of course, we have an interest in that game too. And closed door means no fans. It doesn't mean just away fans can show up. So this is something to keep a hold of and see what punishments will be levied on top of the 2 closed door match bans for Mexico.
Yeah, I think I can speak for the group of us saying that we are sick of this shit and we want the chant to go away, as much as the punishments give us some joy, because we obviously do not want to see that federation succeed. We also want to stop talking about this because it's incredibly dumb that it's continuing to happen. So hopefully, Mexican fans, you learn your lesson and you stop punishing your team for this stupid nonsense. All right, moving on. Donald, looks like we have another firing to talk about. Well, firing.
Yeah, we do. And it is with the Dominican Republic. Their head coach, Jacques Passy, ended up departing. It was a mutual consent, according to his statement. I'll read a little bit from it. He says that during the 11 months I had the privilege of coaching the Dominican Republic national team, we were able to finish 2 out of 5 in our World Cup qualifying group, which we just discussed. And we were able to draw versus Serbia, the first time a CONCACAF team ranked below 150 gets points out of a top 30 team. But most importantly, we were able to convince young players with huge potential to play for the Dominican Republic. Obviously, we would have liked to achieve more, but every process needs time and inertia. I am positive this amazing group of players will provide great success for the DR national team. So definitely something where it seems like both sides decided it wasn't necessarily, hey, this guy did terrible, he needs to go. It was more of a, hey, this phase of this project is done and now it's time to part ways. Passy will probably be, well coveted by some other CONCACAF nations. Will be interested to see if he goes back into club, which is what he was doing before, or if he continues to stay in the CONCACAF region, particularly our beloved Caribbean Football Union, and pick up a national team coaching job amongst them to kind of get that program going again. So I would say for him, it was very successful what they were doing in this time. They may not have achieved everything, but he definitely had some wins, not just in the score column, but definitely the way the progress of the way that the Dominican Republic is progressing has been really, really enjoyable to see. And, of course, we'll see how they continue without him going forward.
Yeah. Passy, of course, he was the former manager of the St. Kitts and Nevis national team, now leaving his post with Dominican Republic. Most notably, he is also now a follower of us on Twitter. So he is a fan of the pod.
Shout out,
Jacques. If you're listening, we'd love to have you on sometime.
Sac passe.
Yeah. So that wraps up our news wire. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to. If anything comes up, we'll get to it next episode. What's next in CONCACAF? We've got the Olympics coming up real quick. Mexico and Honduras on the men's side, the U.S. and Canada on the women's side. All those games going to be really early in the morning over here. I don't know how much coverage we're going to get to that because I don't know how many of those games I'm going to be able to get up and see.
I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'm going to be up watching all of them. The good thing is, for those who were around a couple years ago, not this podcast, but people who remember the Women's World Cup in 2019 and the Men's Gold Cup were going on at the exact same time. And literally every single time the women played, the men played as well. So when I was in France, it was the women's game was early evening, and then late in the middle of the night or early in the morning was the men's game in the Gold Cup. So literally every single match day was a double match day. This time around, at least for United States fans, we don't have that issue. All of our games are on different days, different nights. So, we can pick and choose when we need to get our sleep.
Yeah, sleep schedule's not going to be consistent for this. But as you
Nope.
mentioned, Gold Cup coming up. Qualification for that starts July 2nd down in Fort Lauderdale. This is the first time they got a new format, getting some more CONCACAF teams some games and giving them an opportunity to play their way in to the Gold Cup. So we've got 2 rounds of qualifiers running from July 2nd to July 6th. Pretty much all of that's happening at Drive Pink Stadium. Is that how you say it? DRV
Drive Pink.
Yep.
Drive
Pink.
Yep.
It's at the Inter Miami Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, former site of the famous Lockhart Stadium. So that precedes the Gold Cup, which will be kicking off all over the United States on July 10th, leading up to the final in fabulous Las Vegas on August 1st. We'll be having a Gold Cup preview episode coming up. We don't intend on having this much of a gap between regular episodes ever again. But, things happen. Happy we were able to get that bonus episode out for you to really give the CONCACAF Nations League the respect it deserves. That about wraps us up for this episode. Please follow us on Twitter at PodCACAF, on Instagram at PodCACAF, Facebook at facebook.com/PodCACAF. Yeah, Donald, where are you at on Twitter?
At BlazingDW. That's Twitter and Instagram. If you found me on Facebook, find me on Facebook if you're my friend. But follow me on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JSlapeSSP. You'll have to search for my Instagram.
Ooh, mysteries.
Some people don't want their Instagram seen. Like, obviously, I'm trying to just put the focus on the podcast. So, I'm just...
Those are the real ones to follow.
Yeah, the real ones. I try to give you the latest news in kit releases and crazy shit going on all over CONCACAF. If you're still listening, thanks for listening. Appreciate your patronage. Make sure you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Get those ratings up. Tell all your friends. Share it around. Make sure you follow Donald's other project, Stars and Stripes FC. Make sure you follow Jonathan's other project, Speedway Soccer, focusing on Nashville SC. And we'll be back again in the future. Thank you, and happy CONCACAFing.